Hello and warm welcome. Today is a special episode of Offbeat. With me, as you can see, is Kavyal Sedani. She is a psycho-spiritual healer. She's a mother of two teenage kids, a therapist, and a social media influencer. Very warm welcome to you, Kavyal. So good to have you with me here today.
Thank you for having me, Afrida. Thank you so much.
Thanks for
Such
making
a pleasure.
time in your busy schedule, and I'm going to just dive right in with my questions.
Please
Kavya,
do.
you speak to a cross section of people every time. You speak to mothers, you speak to teenagers, students, you speak to adults across board, right? My first thing I want to start is with parenting. I'm a parent myself, and as I said in the opening, that you've raised two kids, and there are so many parenting issues we face on a day-to-day basis. What is your biggest challenge as a parent?
Your children are not going to live up to the expectations of the film that you have in your head, to the script that you have in your head. And the biggest challenge is sometimes giving up on that script and being prepared for the unknown that they could throw in your face. Okay. Um, but if you are in a space of allowance, which is a very difficult thing for you to just be in a space of allowance and say, hey, okay, I'm just going to be this wall behind you and I'm going to protect you, and you go all out there and do what you need to, then half the issues are sorted. But otherwise, our egos, the parents' egos, are so attached to our dreams. And, we've all heard this so many times that we tend to live our unfulfilled dreams through our children. Detaching from that and giving up on those dreams and allowing our children to have their own is the hardest part.
Like I think I read this somewhere, and you might know it even better, that you are supposed to be that bow. It's that bow and the arrow thing, right? You're supposed to pull them back and then let it just release it, let it go,
Yes.
and that
Yes.
pull back is all you
Yes.
can do, and where it goes is their destiny. Something like
Absolutely.
that. I think this is a very interesting way of looking at our children. That there should be detachment in attachment, the way you put it. As a parent myself, Kavil, I want to ask you this, and since I have your time, I will use this opportunity to help me find a solution. Since most parents are grappling with it on the inordinate amount of time that children spend on the tablets, on screen. So how do you limit that? When people come to you with this problem, what do you tell them?
Well, it is the key question that every parent has. And trust me, we have no answers. But Shefali Sabari said this beautifully, and it is so true. I'm going to quote exactly the same thing to you, that the children are looking for 5 S's. Okay. And the 5 S's are: they want to be seen, they want to feel safe, they want to feel soothed, they want to feel successful, and they want to feel significant. Okay. Now, if you can provide that environment without the screen, where they can feel seen, successful, soothed, significant, everything, then their attachment to the screen is not going to be so much. But because of the screens, no, it's not just the children, but we have also become very lazy parents. It's not like parents are always just scrolling down reels on Instagram, but our life, our work life is on the screen. Right. So somewhere after 2, 3 times of screaming and shouting at your child, you'll be like, karne do yaar, unko jo karna hai, at least I'm getting to work. So parents have primarily become lazy. They're not as involved with their children, or if they're involved, the involvement is very instructional. Tumne homework kiya, iska kya hua, tuition jao, ye karo, wo karo. Kids don't want that. You're not making them seen, significant, safe, soothed, successful. Not at all. Because every time you're pointing out a flaw, you're not making them feel successful. Whereas every time they get one point, the dopamine hit that they get with the screen saying, oh, level 1 and level 2 and good job, well done. That's a constant, hit to the dopamine and the serotonin levels. Why will the child give it up? However, if you consciously and very logically speak to a teenager, saying that my only worry is this is going to give you involuntary movement in your facial muscles, it's going to give you eye issues, it's going to numb your brain, it's going to do this, blah 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 blah, you tell me what is the solution. And then it in agreement with the child that, okay, mama, I'm going to do it for 2 hours on Saturday, Sundays, I'm going to do it. But you will have to take them into account. What do they want? How do they want to limit this? Trust me, they want to limit it themselves. They know
Themselves.
they're going
Yeah.
overboard. They know that they can't sleep in the night. They know that they can't focus. But us pointing out the flaws is not going to help. We have to co-create a solution with them. But there's no easy answer to this, because a gadget has literally become like an extension of our arm.
I have also tried multiple things to, just like you said, give them equally interesting options. Where are those equally
Yeah.
other interesting options? I don't know, but I've sometimes, when you observe your children, like with my son, I realize that
Mm.
uh, if he's with his other friends, he's like, he doesn't need anything. That is the time he will not require the screen. So I started encouraging that a lot.
Yeah.
I would be like, hey, why don't you call your friends over? Even at the cost of, say, bunch of boys landing up at your place is not your most convenient thing, but I know it'll take him off the tablet. So instead of saying, you
Yeah.
can be on your screen for so long,
Yes.
I would just tell him,
Yes. Yes.
get your friends over. Because I would not
100%.
mind him, socially engaging with his peer group, even for a longer duration. It's much better, the human interaction, than being on a screen, isn't it? So, I
True.
think.
And that's exactly it's the same thing, right? With his friends, he
Mm,
feels seen and successful and soothed and safe and
yeah,
significant.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
the same thing.
It's the
So
same. We need to
anything,
figure out options also, right? Which will be at
yes,
par
so
or almost at
anything
par.
that can make your child feel the same way is great.
Right. So, these are the things that constantly are in discourse. But, when it comes to urban living, and most of my questions will be around that, because, I'm assuming most of the people watching us would have these issues. For example, sometimes, and a lot of people have now, of course, come to the awareness that you need to see a therapist. And I'm sure you have a lot of people who come to you with these questions, that when you are facing a contradiction. For example, I faced this contradiction recently. You would read something that says, learn to be by yourself, and when you are on your own, you're the most powerful. That is when you're most powerful, when you don't need anyone else. And then I again read something very interesting, completely contradicting that says, that's the biggest lie, that you are the most powerful when you learn to be by yourself. Human beings are not like that. They're supposed to operate in tribes. We've always been in tribes, and codependence is what keeps us thriving. And those who are by themselves, they usually end up, feeling low, depressed, whatever, but they will not say it. Where do you stand on this, on these kind of contributions?
Oh, we definitely are. Each one of us is codependent. Each one. Like today, I was having breakfast all by myself for 10 minutes and I felt so good about it. And then I picked up my phone and I video called my father. So we can't operate without the other person. But what it's also trying to say is that don't become so dependent that you feel like you are not enough on your own.
Mm-mm.
That's
True.
you got to, it's a fine balance that
Fine
I
balance.
love having. I'm an absolute extrovert. I love having people around me. But
Mm.
if there are people who are not there,
Mm.
then I'm not dying all by myself. Then I'm growing. I'm learning that, okay, do I enjoy my own company? Can I hum a song? Can I just read a book? Can I be peaceful?
Mm. Mm.
Whenever you can create something yourself that you are ideally dependent on the other person for,
Mm.
whenever you can create it yourself, you become powerful. For example, and I always tell all the teenagers this, that you're going to have multiple breakups in your life, you're going to have multiple relationships in your life,
Mm.
but at no point should you feel like, oh my god, this person has gone away from my life, now who will love me, who will appreciate me?
Mm.
Because you need to become that factory of love, you need to become that factory of appreciation, that yes, the person will go, it's going to be a heartbreak, I'm going to miss him, I'm going to miss the company, but I'm a factory and I can generate my own love and appreciation till the next person comes.
Mm.
So I stay open to people,
Mm.
but not desperate, fearful, and dependent, like, oh my god, I need somebody else to survive. No, it's a very fine dance. And
Mhm.
when you start doing the dance, you begin to learn it, and then you master it. When you master it, you absolutely enjoy it. That's empowerment.
I love food analogies a lot. So whenever I have to explain something, I find a way, like a food thing to.
To connect.
I was, I was like telling my daughter this, and our daughters are the same age, that my way of dealing with the same thing about heartbreaks and stuff like that. I have told her that, listen, you need to bake a beautiful cake. Now everyone wants
Yeah.
a cherry on the cake, right? We all want it.
Yes.
But with or without the cherry, your cake has to be beautiful. It has to be complete by itself.
Yeah.
Now the cherries
Yeah.
are going to line up to be on you, that is
Yes.
kind of, and even if a cherry,
Yes.
even if you drop the cherry, it's fine. You are complete by yourself, and there will be
I've seen
others,
this.
but you have to complete. Hmm.
Yes, and even in adults, I've seen this.
Ah,
That my whole life, I have, when I was really craving the attention of the men and the women and everybody, there was no one. Okay, everybody seemed to not like me, not want me, want somebody who was thinner and slimmer and longer hair and more intelligent and more eloquent. And then one day I got so tired. I'm like, go to hell with this shit. I don't want this. I'm not craving the attention of the men anymore.
hmm,
And I'm going to be enough myself.
hmm,
The day I stopped needing the
hmm,
men lined up,
hmm,
because now something changed in their psyche. Now they're like, what is it about you that
hmm,
you don't need me? No matter what I offer, you don't need it. Oh my God, I want to be with you.
hmm, hmm.
When you are
You always
self-sufficient,
carry that vibe, basically, right? That needy vibe is always there, and that not needy vibe is also. And people
yes,
always gravitate towards someone who's got something to offer, something to
non-needy.
take. Yeah.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So there's no end to how many relationship questions I have, but I'll try and keep it like, brief about, again, our social constructs, right? Marriage now is again under a lot of scrutiny, especially with the conversation now coming around. Okay, it's like an entire, everything is a spectrum now. It's about where you are on the man woman spectrum. How much of a man or how much of a woman are you? Everything is on a spectrum.
Yes.
Marriage somehow is now losing its original luster, as I would call it, because it's the young generation is skeptical about it, of co-inhabiting with one person year on year. It's fake, it's a lie. But I have survived 20 years.
Hmm.
I am very old school that way. I would say it's the most magical thing to be able to build this, forge this, a partnership, so to speak,
Yes.
and then to be able to sustain it, because I believe in working in teams. I'm a person who's quite lost alone,
Yes.
whether it's at work or whether it's my personal thing. So it's like my partner is part of the team, and we work it together. So for me, marriage works
Hmm.
beautifully. But why is it? Why is it that marriage has come under so much scrutiny? Why is it being scoffed at now?
Well, because people are no longer dependent on the other person. There
Hmm.
is no longer that belief that for my physical needs or my financial needs, I need another person. So there is a lot of judgment. People are now getting married at the age of 30 and 35 if they are. And by that age, they are so hardwired to
Hmm.
be fully independent that it feels like, hey, I don't need you. So you can go if you have to. The
Yeah.
word compromise or adjustment is really looked down upon.
Yeah.
Whereas for you and me who are old school, we think it's a value add to us that we've learned to adjust, we've learned to compromise, we've learned to go the half mile, and we see the benefits of that, right?
Hmm.
But the generation today feels like, no, what's the point? I mean, I don't have to wait. Uh, Earlier, I remember even if I wanted to travel, I got married at 20, and my father would say, oh, you want to travel? You travel after you get married. You want to go for a party? You go after you get married. So
Hmm.
we waited. We felt like our life was starting after marriage, but it's no more that way. Everything has changed. However, since the Bumble, Tinder, Hinge culture has taken over, everybody on Bumble, Tinder, and Hinge is also going through a severe exhaustion of putting themselves on display.
Hmm. Hmm.
So after a few years, like a classic cycle of 20 years, everything has a cycle of 20 years. Okay. After the classic cycle of 20 years, when people are tired of being on their own, they will want the commitment again. They will want the stability again. The same thing that has lost value will find value one more time.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like our most important lessons, like a relationship and a marriage, is the toughest MBA you can do on the planet. There's nothing as tough as this. Okay, there's so many lessons hidden in a long relationship that lasts you 50, 60 years of your life. That if you can manage to hold on to that, you are, you've evolved so much more if you do it right. I
Also,
vote for
the
marriage. I
choices you
still do.
make when you choose a partner, because I feel that a lot of us, I mean, by default, some of us have made the right choices. Another girl like me, with a little bit here and there, or not being at the right place at the right time, has landed up
Mm.
in a wrong relationship, which probably did not work. But my question to you is also about career women and their challenges when it comes to sustaining a marriage, because I have seen, and correct me if I'm wrong, I have seen this pattern that the more you grow in your career ladder, the more the chances of your personal relationship slipping out of your hands. I have in my own circle so many women who, as they progressed in career, and because it takes a certain, you have to devote your energies, right? I mean, right up to the middle, it's still fine. And then when you almost get
Yeah.
there, you get ambitious because you've come all this way up, right up to the middle, and now you get
Mm.
ambitious and you want to rise up to the top of your career ladder. The moment you get into that ambitious streak, your relationships start falling apart because obviously your energies get divided, or whatever the reason. Or is it because, mostly, I mean, I hear this all the time, that Indian men get insecure? Is it only Indian men, or it's a global phenomenon? I'm not sure. But is it true that career women are less likely to be able to sustain long-term marriages, relationships?
No, it's just that whatever you focus on will grow. And like I said, that a lot of relationships now are very transactional. What are you bringing onto the table? What am I bringing onto the table? Okay, the mindset is no more that of family. Right now, me and my mobile phone are one family. My husband also is an outsider. It's become like that. Okay. But if you really truly value the marriage, you will learn. Maybe sometimes, even if we have to pause a little bit, because if we are walking too fast, we are running too fast on our career chart, we may be leaving our spouses behind. But then you have to wait and you have to say, okay, hey, come on, guys. Okay, I'm going to slow down a little bit. But there can always be a compromise. But if I am hell bent on only focusing on my career or on the finances that are coming in, then yes, there are all the chances that the marriage may slip out because there's not much energy left. Look at the lifestyle. Look at the lifestyle that we have in the metro cities. 4 hours of a day could go into travel, and the other 20 hours you are non-stop expected to be available no matter what career it is. Where is the energy left for the romance? And look at how expensive life is. So of course we will be like, nahi, ye zyada zaruri hai. The kids education, we have to send them abroad, we have to buy a house. The have to's come in between the love. Eventually the love starts feeling superficial and the pressure takes over.
But you
But
don't think that
insecurity
with
about
stronger
men,
women,
yes,
with ambitious women, it's tougher with women who are ambitious? Is it tougher to maintain? They have to be more
it
conscious of.
definitely is tougher. It Yes, it definitely is tougher because for somebody who's a homemaker, she already has mentally conditioned herself that things will go according to the way my husband wants or my family wants. So then there is no challenge there.
Yeah.
But for a career woman who is also doing very well, she's commanding a team of possibly 100, 200 people. She'd be like, why should I be listening to you? I'm doing much better than you are. Of course, I have more sense, right? Then the egos come in between. And once the ego has found its way, then it'll create a crack.
I have seen another kind of tendency in women that, as if unless you are working, you are not good enough. Even that, I feel, adds a lot of pressure because now you have to be a good mother, good wife, good daughter in law, and a career person. And unless you have all,
Yes.
you are not, as good. You still have something
Yeah.
lacking. So that pressure has added this choice of partner, this, that, everything has become very, for a woman, like, okay, but I have to continue to work, I cannot, that's my identity, but I also want to be a mother. I also want to have enough, as a family. So is it a very tough battle out there now for women,
It
because
is
expectations are like that?
clearly
Hmm.
very, very, very tough. And I'll tell you this, a lot of women succeed at coming very close to best mother, best employee in the office, best wife, blah, blah, blah. But under all of this pressure, what's the first thing that goes out of the window? The
Hmm.
intimacy.
Hmm.
That's the one that's instantly excused. The
Hmm.
sex life goes for a toss. There's no more romantic date nights. There's no more you and me. So the effort in the marriage has dissolved because, hey, who has the energy?
Hmm. You want to tick all the
Who has the
boxes.
time?
Hmm.
You want to tick all the boxes. So
Hmm.
who has the energy for the softness that the relationship demands? Now we are only working on all the hard skills everywhere,
Hmm.
but uh, the wisdom that a woman needs, that I can be my boss in office, but the minute I go home, I know that my husband likes me in a certain way. He likes me to be a softer version of me, not a necessarily submissive or inferior version, a softer version of me. But I refuse to change roles because I feel like, oh, is that me changing myself? I don't want to change myself for anybody. No, that's just, you have to see that there are multiple sides of you.
Hmm.
And at work, a different side of you comes out. At family, a different side of you comes out.
Hmm. Hmm.
We have become so rigid
Yeah.
that we are unwilling to
Hmm.
go the extra mile to
Hmm.
keep the relationship secure.
Hmm.
We need to drop that rigidity. For a man
Hmm.
to feel secure in a relationship, he's going to need the physical connection. For a woman to feel secure in a relationship and to continue to have the physical connection, she's going to need the emotional connection. But now neither of them is willing to give be the first one to give in.
Hmm.
So the
So
minute the
sometimes trying
intimacy
to tick
goes
all the
out,
boxes is you don't tick even a
it
single
doesn't
box in the
happen.
business.
Like there's a quote that earlier it would take a village to raise a child.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now one woman is trying to do it on her own. Imagine the pressure.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I have always, I mean, I sort of made these little house rules, which, because I was in that situation as well, where you have to work and you have to be present as a mother, you are a wife, and you like to have a, couple time together, etc. And I would make these small little things like, weekends, we don't make individualistic plans because, see, weekdays you're working, both parents are working. So weekends, I can't come up and say, okay, today I have a thing where I'm going out with the girls. It's simply to rule out the fact that you can't, because once you start that, then there is no end to it. You go into an individualistic role. You do your thing, I do my thing. So that, I think, gets
Yeah.
damaging for the relationship. Somewhere create a space that no matter what, you will be with each other. And like small things like, after dinner we go take a stroll and don't carry the phone, so the two partners connect, talk. So I feel that somewhere that has helped me, but I still find that it's very, very difficult to fulfill the expectations of all the roles. In fact, I remember telling my student, don't expect me to be A plus in everything. I can't be A plus mother, A plus wife. I don't mind
Imagine.
being B minus in a couple of subjects. So anyway, so coming to
Yeah.
another point, yeah, about relationships, I wanted to ask you that, uh, now with the teenage girls and teenage boys, do we back off completely, or do we tell them how to go about this, or do we just let them be, and they want to be single, they want to be married, it's their issue?
Again, this is so hard.
Hmm.
Um, because as a parent somewhere, we are hardwired to control our children's lives. Okay, so it's so much easier said than done that just back off because the fear of the unknown and how your child may land up, and no matter if your child does this instead of that, how's that going to reflect on you as a parent?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, it's very, very deep rooted.
Hmm.
But we have to learn to be like a spiritual mentor to our child,
Hmm.
that I know that you're going to make these mistakes. Okay, this is your journey. Of course, you're going to fall and you're going to rise. When you fall, I want to be there for you.
Hmm.
But the doorway to that is respect both ways.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because if you don't respect me,
Hmm.
then instead of advising you correctly or instead of guiding you correctly, then I just want to control you because then I want to go tit for tat. because we are still humans, right? We still operate out of ego.
Mm-hmm.
But if the child maintains a certain dignity, a certain respect in communicating with the parent will return the favor. And then it has to be both ways. The
Okay.
biggest problem nowadays is the parent also very often is treated like a commodity by the child. The parent is a provider. They have to make sure there's enough money in my pockets. My Wi-Fi is on. I have an iPhone. I have the best laptop and an air-conditioned room. And then you provide the food and then you get out.
Get out.
It
Mm-hmm.
is the problem is in
Very
these situations
transactional
that the
mindset.
connection is lost.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Because the children come up and tell the parents that, hey, if you couldn't do this for me, why did you give me birth? And now that you've given me birth, you have to do the rest. It's not my problem. The entitlement in the teenagers is becoming a very big issue. And also, on the other hand, the parents are so scared because, you hear these cases where somebody jumped off and a teenager committed suicide. So they are so scared of even guiding their own child, that what if my child sees this as control?
Intrusion.
My child is saying that, oh, he's anxious. My child is saying that she's depressed. What do I do? So they're not able to build trust with each other. That is why when they come for counseling, it's almost like, for the first time, you will openly talk without the fear of judgment and what they will feel and what my child will feel. That communication is very important. Nowadays, that communication is completely off. It's missing.
Mhm. Living in an urban setup, like a city like Mumbai, for example, it's fast paced, right? Like you see people doing the running around all the time. Now, the moment you have to slow down for whatever reason, it almost feels like you're becoming redundant. This I'm asking you from a personal perspective as well. So I was like speaking to my sister and says, what's wrong with now I only work 4 hours. I used to work 12 hours. So what's wrong with that? That's how life is supposed to be. You're supposed to work only 4 hours, but because we have always slogged all our lives, now this feels like we have slowed down in an urban metropolis, but not so much when you are, say, in a smaller town, like in back of the beyond in the rest of India. So, do you think that the city mindset also gets to us? It adds to our stress. It just keeps
Oh,
us pumped
200%.
up all the time, that as if you're not doing anything. Why should we be doing everything
200%.
all the time? Yeah.
200% it does. I've lived my father's side of the family is all in Gujarat, in Porbandar. They're in the smallest cities. And we are here, and I realized that in Bombay, whatever we get done in 4 hours is not done there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, we get a
Okay,
lot.
so, but in Bombay or Delhi or all the metro cities, we have attached our sense of identity and who we are with the amount of work that we do and the kind of work that we do. So it's almost like, oh, you can't see me chilling, boss. I need to be busy. And that's my status symbol now, that I don't have time to go to the washroom. I don't have time to go and have a dinner with my friend. It's like that. It's your ego.
Badge of honor.
But eventually you're going to burn out. We are all going to burn out unless we make the change. And there is no end to the amount of financial shifting goals. Today I made 5 lakhs, tomorrow I want to make 10, day after I want to make 15. There's no stopping there. So unless we put a cap to, hey, I'm comfortable with this and I'm okay with this and this is how much I want, and beyond this, I need to focus on my health, because the reality is we are all burning out in the metro cities. We all need to focus on our health.
Yeah.
So unless you can learn to put your health and family first, there's no way out of this. It's a rabbit hole and it's just going to keep taking you further deeper down.
What is your success mantra? What is your happiness mantra?
Now, my happiness mantra is if I can sleep well in the night thinking that, oh, if I die tomorrow, have I done everything I wanted to do? And not in the form of which country I wanted to visit. No, all of there could be a very long bucket list. But if I sleep well in the night thinking I did justice to the resources that God has given me, and I feel happy with whatever I've created, and people are going to think of me fondly, and I've managed to hear my children laughing more than crying, I've managed to hear my husband appreciating me more than complaining, I'm very successful.
Yeah. Okay. On that note, anything you want to tell parents of teenagers in particular, how they should maintain a balance between work, between parenting, and everything else that they do, what would it be?
Okay, your children need you. They may not be able to communicate that to you in the best manner.
Hmm.
Um, do not give them everything on a platter. They're not going to learn hard work. Do not spoil them because you're going to make them entitled.
Hmm.
Let them struggle a little bit. You will have to let them appreciate the value of the small things. Um, but keep that door open where you guys can communicate. Don't go completely liberal. Don't go completely, disrespecting their boundaries.
Hmm.
But that balance is something all of us have to learn. We can't afford to be lazy parents. We can't afford to just say, "Ah, mera bacha khud bada ho jayega." No, we can't afford to do that. Your children need you.
Kavya, thank you so much for joining me. It was good having this conversation with you. I hope we have you more to share your insights with us. But this was amazingly insightful and interesting. Thank you so much for joining me.